So you're thinking about getting a battery for your solar panels, but you're not sure what size to get. Well, this is an important consideration. Whilst we don't endorse Goldilocks' approach to breaking into homes and stealing people's food, we do applaud her focus on finding the exact right size bed. And this is exactly how you should be thinking about batteries. Because if you get the right size, you can maximize using your solar power without wasting any money. In this video, I'm going to talk through roughly what size battery you need, why it matters, and the factors that installers consider when they're advising you. I'm Charlie. Josh is away, he's sunning it up on holiday. Let's go. So what size battery do you need? Well, a good rule of thumb is to match your battery size roughly to your daily electricity usage, meaning in the UK, a 9 to 10 kilowatt hour battery is suitable for the average household. This is because, according to government data, the average household uses 3,400 kilowatt hours of electricity each year, which works out to about 9 or 10 kilowatt hours per day. But this is just a rough guide. Therefore, it follows that if you use slightly less electricity, you could do with a slightly smaller battery. For example, Ofgem's current estimate for a typical 2 or 3 bedroom home is 2,700 kilowatt hours of electricity a year, which equates to about 7.4 kilowatt hours a day, and so a 7 or 8 kilowatt hour battery would be suitable for that home. A third example, let's say you're using the UK average of 3,400 kilowatt hours a year, but you've also got a heat pump. Now that typically adds about 3,200 kilowatt hours a year extra. So the total there is 6,600. On average, that's 18 kilowatt hours a day, so an 18 kilowatt hour battery is about right. It's also worth noting that if you're thinking of getting an EV, this will obviously increase your electricity usage, but it shouldn't affect what size battery you should get. And that's because with an EV, the best way to charge it is with electricity from the grid overnight, not by using your battery. So what does solar battery size actually mean? Well, they're measured in kilowatt hours, which refers to a quantity of electricity, like water being measured in litres. For example, if you have solar panels on your roof and in a given day they generate 7 kilowatt hours of electricity and your home uses half of that, the other 3.5 kilowatt hours could go into a battery. All you need is a battery that's bigger than 3.5 kilowatt hours. One important thing to note is that a solar battery can only discharge down to its depth of discharge, or DOD, which refers to the maximum amount of capacity that can be used without putting it at risk. One of the main reasons for this is because a battery still needs to keep a bit of power in the tank so it can actually operate. For example, if you have a 5 kilowatt hour battery and it has a 90% depth of discharge, that means that you can only use 4.5 kilowatt hours of its storage space before it needs to start charging again. It's crucial to get an appropriately sized battery to ensure that you're making the most of your investment in solar. If you get a battery that's too small or too big, you'll either be saving less than you could or spending more than you should. If your battery is too small, you're not going to be making the most of the power that your solar panels generate. Once your battery's limited storage space is used up, you'll have to sell the remainder to the grid. And yes, you can get paid for this via a solar export tariff, but in most cases, this is going to be less profitable than using it at home yourself. And with a battery, it's not just about making the most of the power your panels are producing, it's also about making the most of cheap off-peak grid electricity. With the right size battery, you can charge up on off-peak grid electricity overnight, and then throughout the day, use it as cheap backup power even when your panels aren't producing, which is particularly useful in winter. If your battery is undersized, then you're going to end up needing to import expensive peak electricity from the grid during the evening. On the flip side, getting a battery that is significantly oversized can also be a waste of money. Batteries typically cost around £3,000 to £7,000 depending on their size and a bunch of other factors. So if you're getting a battery that's far too big for your home, you could end up wasting thousands of pounds. But there are a few situations where an oversized battery is worth considering, and I'm about to go right through them all. If you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, worry not. A good solar installer should be able to work out exactly what size battery you need. They'll put together a recommendation to which you can obviously say yes or no, but it's useful to at least understand what factors they're basing their recommendation on, and there are 5 key factors. Number 1 is your budget. As I've just said, batteries cost thousands of pounds, and going up a size obviously increases the price. So even if a 10 kilowatt hour battery, let's say, is most suitable for your home, but really only a 5 kilowatt hour battery suits your budget, that is obviously going to have the biggest impact on what you go with. Number 2 is your household electricity usage. As I've already said, a good rule of thumb for sizing your battery is to just base it on your daily electricity usage. If you're not sure what this is, take a look at an energy bill or your energy supplier app and look at the number of kilowatt hours you used last year and divide it by 365. This should give you a very rough idea of what battery is right for you. Number 3 is whether your electricity usage is going to increase in the future. You're going to need to do a little bit of crystal ball gazing. It's not just about what you're using right now. And that's because if you're having second thoughts and you add more battery storage later, that tends to work out as a bit more expensive than just getting a bigger battery on day one. So if you're planning to get a heat pump in the next few years, or maybe add a member or two to your household, it's worth bearing that in mind and telling your installer when they're sizing up your battery. But it's important to remember that batteries tend to only last about 10 or 12 years, so you don't need to look that far into the future. Number 4 is how much space you have. Most households will tend to find space for a suitably sized battery, but it's still worth checking before going ahead. As a general guide, a 10 kilowatt hour battery on average is about 0.9 cubic meters. Fortunately, most batteries are taller than they are wide, which tends to help. And according to the latest guidelines, the best place to put a battery is either outside or in your garage. Number 5 is whether you want emergency backup power. If you want to keep the lights on during a power cut, you're going to need a bigger battery, because on top of your daily usage, you also need to keep a reserve of electricity that stays untouched unless you really need it. Depending on what level of home battery backup you want, ranging from a single socket all the way up to whole home backup, you'll typically need 20 to 40% more storage. Crucially, you also need to choose a model of battery that provides the functionality, because some of them don't, and you'll need to get your installer or an electrician to set up the functionality. We've done a whole guide to home battery backup and the link is down below. Can you add more battery storage later on? Yes, you can. Lots of batteries come in the form of stackable modules, so it's possible, but it rarely makes sense to actually do it. For example, if you wait 10 years before adding additional modules to your battery, your existing module is going to need replacing pretty soon, and that's because most batteries typically last between 10 and 12 years. So in this case, you'd probably be better off just buying a whole new, bigger battery. On the flip side, if you decide after just a couple of years to add more modules to your battery, this is possible and you're not going to need to replace your existing system, but you'll kick yourself for not just doing it at the start, because you're going to have to pay for the labour costs all over again, whereas on your first installation day, you're already paying for the labour. Basically, it makes sense to get the battery size right straight away. In summary, the average UK household needs a battery that is about 9 to 10 kilowatt hours in size, but this is just a rough guide. Your installer will base their recommendations on a bunch of factors, including your energy usage, how much energy you expect to use in the future, your budget, how much space you have, and whether you want backup emergency power. Also, if you're feeling put off by the high upfront cost of solar, you should consider SunSafe Plus, which is the UK's first solar subscription. It means you can switch to solar with no upfront cost and instead make fixed monthly payments for 20 years. Your system will also be backed by the SunSafe Guarantee, which includes 24/7 monitoring, maintenance, downtime cover, free replacement parts, and insurance. You can learn more about SunSafe Plus via the link below, and for more videos like this, normally with Josh here on the sofa with me, click subscribe. Goodbye.